want to talk about a subject that is a very difficult subject for me to talk about. And it doesn't really matter if anybody's watching or listening to this, but this is something that I need to do for myself. Something that I need to talk out, and I guess I'm putting it out on YouTube because I figure if I publicly do it, then it becomes more of a reality to me. Hopefully it won't be as long-winded as my talk about love and relationships. But so what I want to talk about is death. It's a subject that I really, to be honest, hate. I loathe the subject. I mean, who does like it? I mean, maybe somebody does, but and it's not even because I'm afraid of dying myself. I mean, everybody's afraid to die. Everybody's afraid of the process, or the thought of the pain, or the suffering that's involved with dying. But I've already kind of come to the conclusion, and I may sound morbid, but that when I die, I'm either going to go to sleep and not wake up, or I'm just going to pass out from some major aneurysm or something. That being said, I'm not as fearful about my own death because I've already chosen to accept Jesus as my Savior. Then, because He conquered death for me and erased my sin, I know that I can conquer death also, because He's gonna give me everlasting life. So, I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about other people. I'm worried about their lives, their souls. And to be honest, mostly, I mean, not mostly, but a lot of it is my own selfishness. Because I'm extremely fearful of losing someone again. And the fact that I will scares me. Because I went through life being completely naive, thinking that everybody I love would live forever. No one would ever die. Or something else would happen. God would come back before I ever had to experience anybody close to me dying. And I know that's an extremely selfish thought. It's also selfish thinking that I could hold on to people and that I can keep them in my life because I need them and I want them to be there. I don't want them to leave me. So I lost my dad about 2.5 years ago, January 29th, 2009. One of the worst days of my life. I'm not going to rehash the details Because even as I say that, right now, the day's playing over in my mind. And it will always be with me. I hate death so much that I don't even like saying the word dead. I try to avoid saying dead or death. I try to say passed on or not here anymore. Or my dog went on a vacation. Before I experienced a person dying in my life, I experienced animals dying. And I never really understood it. It's like they were alive, they were animated, they were my friends, and then they just stopped. And they weren't there anymore. And it's like I knew they died, but at the same time, I felt like they just stopped moving. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It sounds silly. I just knew that it was time for them to not be there anymore. Like, they blessed me in my life, and they gave me friendship and comfort and entertainment, and then they were gone. And when I was like 5 years old, my dad had bought me a fish, a goldfish, and it had those big bubbly eyes, and I named him Bubbles. And he brought him home after work, and I was so happy. And next day, he died, and so I remember taking him out. And the funny thing is I didn't even flush him down the toilet, or I didn't bury him. I just took him in a bowl, and he took him outside to the dumpster. I guess I really didn't understand the value of life and death at that age. I just figured it was like a toy I had, and it stopped working. And so he got me one the next day, and it died. Got me another one the next day, and it died. And so I just kind of gave up. I told him I didn't want any more fish. And later on I had goldfish, and they would jump out of the tank. They were like suicidal fish. And they would just try to leave, and I kind of felt like they were trying to get away from me or something. I don't know. But to be honest, I do not remember at all anyone setting me down and explaining death to me. I mean, that's a major thing that I think that you're supposed to do with your kids. But I don't recall anybody doing it for me. Honestly, I don't. I don't remember anybody saying, this is what happens. You die, and this is what happens afterwards, and this is why it happens, and it's part of life. Nothing. So, I guess I kind of grew up with a distorted view of it, and fearful of it, because I was always afraid somebody was going to come at night, like when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. Even as a young teenager, I'd be like so scared somebody was going to come and take my family's life, kill them. And I prayed and I prayed, and my prayers got so routine about that because I was so scared all the time. I just didn't understand. And as I grew up, for a while I was fearful of my own death until I really learned the truth about Jesus and really finally hit me and understood about the hope that he gave me, and that you can kind of see in another video I have of my testimony. That's another long story that I don't want to get into right now, but when I got older, more mature, I and God in my life, I totally was, understood about my own death. But I still didn't understand about everybody else's. Which may sound kind of weird, but that's just how it was for me. It's how it is for me. And so when I lost my dad, I thought it was the end of the world. And I'm not exaggerating. Because I felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest and torn to shreds and put in a blender. And every night I felt like that. And I felt like somebody took that huge mess of a heart that I had, my destroyed heart, the image of my dad being there for me forever, and was showing it to me every single day. Every day I'd look at how destroyed my heart was. And every day I would see the whole scene of that day when he died in my head. Just to remind me. It reminded me over and over and over that he wasn't coming back. And sometimes I still think about it. And so many people have told me different things about how to cope and that they can talk to their family members and things like that. I tried to for a little while, but it just never felt real. It's not here. It never felt real to me to say, hi Dad, and talk to him, or go to his grave and talk to him. It's just not something I can do. I mean, that's great if it's a comfort to other people, but the man's not here anymore. I can't talk to him. He can't talk back to me. Do you know how badly that hurts? I can't pretend. Pretending doesn't make me feel better. So that's how I feel about that. And, to be honest, I don't think that death is something that you could ever get over. Maybe some people can, but I can't, and I admit that to myself. I've been working on, over the past few months, trying to feel better about it, trying to accept the reality of it, and trying to deal with the reality that it will happen again, and I'll have to deal with it again, because I have been in denial about that, and I've been avoiding it, and I've been pushing my feelings down, and away every time it comes up. But God has a funny way of not letting you ignore things, especially reality things. He wants you to learn your lessons. And he's done that for me. And he's used my boyfriend as a tool. Which has really been a blessing to me. I love you. And he's been helping me through it. Helping me to really take some steps toward accepting the reality of death. So, I still got a lot of steps to go, but he had me take the step of admitting that people in my life were going to die also. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. And I feel like it's something that I should probably repeat again right now, just so that I can get it in my mind. And since I'm doing this publicly, I know I'm going to get really emotional, but here goes. Yes, I'm afraid and terrified of losing more people in my life to death. But I know that it is inevitable. I know that it will happen. I know that my mom is not getting any younger, and I'm trying to help her get healthier. But I know that one day she's gonna die. As well as my sister, my other sister. And I know one day I won't have any family left. I also know that the people I live with aren't going to be around forever either. And that my friend's dad is going to die someday. And that other people will too. I mean, I even know that it's not just a matter of, oh yeah, well, people are going to get old, they're going to get sick, they're going to die. It could be anything. It could be an accident. It could be something very sudden. And that scares me even more. Because it's one thing to have somebody die when you're expecting them to die, but it's another thing to be talking to them one day and telling them you love them and you'll see them tomorrow, and then the next day they're gone. And that's what happened with my dad. And I know that could very well happen with my boyfriend. And I'm scared of that. I'm scared of that happening with him or anybody else, but I love him so much that I honestly feel like my whole world would fall apart again if something like that were to happen. So, if I may be so selfish to ask God that He prepare me next time I have to deal with this, that it's something that's more expected, rather than a shock. And I guess I'm selfish for asking that. But that's just how I feel right now. Well, I think I've used up enough energy, and I don't even know what I'm talking about. Not really energy, but, well, emotional energy. And I don't think I can talk about this anymore, but this is just another step that I've taken. And I just needed to say it. So, I don't know if it helped anybody or if I'm just talking to myself, but thank you anyway for listening, bearing with me.